Hi guys. So now we are transiting into Gene Key 2. Um, and this is my life's work. It's where the sun was in the moment I was born. The programming partner is Gene Key 1, which is then of course my evolution. So you could say that this is a hexagram that I've lived on my skin and in my body, and that I'm constantly unraveling and I feel like somehow understanding on a deeper level. Um, so it goes from the shadow of dislocation to the gift of orientation and the state of unity. And when we speak about Gene Key 2 and Gene Key 1, there we could say that in the IChing they come in the wrong order, because it's like all masculine kind of emerges from the feminine, right? So the void was there first, and then was a spark of creativity. So it's like it's somehow the other way round, and that's we can tie that to the shadow of dislocation, that there has been a flip of where they are in the order of the I Ching. And at the same time, it's of course perfect. That's basically the ultimate message of Gene Key 2, that whatever is, it's perfect, and to really invite us to trust that. And I've always loved the audio that Richard did on this Gene Key. There is on YouTube, there is a contemplation that is part of that too, there where it's about trusting fear, trusting pain, trusting love, and kind of trusting the whole shebang is what Richard says. And at the same time, it's the whole thing about duality, because when we say trusting it, that means that there is like a truster and something to trust. So then we already have duality, we have separation, and we have dislocation. It's not, we're not in the state of unity. So it's I feel like you could speak about this Gene Key. I could speak about this Gene Key every week, because it is the divine feminine, and she's everything. There is like nothing she isn't. So it's kind of fun as well to. It's kind of challenging to do a contemplation on this Gene Key. So we can also look at it from human design and see that the second gate is in the G center. The G center is the center in the middle of the body graph that stands for love, direction, and identity. So it's about this knowing where we're going. And we can also see that Gene Key 2 is in the ring of water, the codon ring of water, together with Gene Key 8. And then we have Gene Key 1, the programming partner, and Gene Key 14, the ring of fire. So they are both Gene Key 2 and the programming partner Gene Key 1 are in the center, in the G center, the center for love, identity, and direction. And we also call it sometimes the magnetic monopole. Because it has this ability of orientation. It's kind of a GPS that is tuned in and that can orient itself in the moment. And then we come back to the fact that it's the water element. It's about a flow. It's an orientation through a flow. And it's also, you could say the water is soft, it's yielding, so it has that feminine flavor on it. And also, it's emotional, like we know in astrology, for example, or all the water signs. It's when there is water, there are feelings, and there is a lot of sadness in the individual circuitry. In the body graph, we have a lot of melancholy. We have that probably even more in gate 1, because gate 1 is kind of the fire that sparks, but then it goes back and it rests. It's kind of the masculine ejaculation. There is a spark that comes out, but then there is a time for rest that is needed, and regeneration. And then that is really what we feel, especially having Gene Key 1 in the evolution. If we have these oppositions somewhere in our chart, we are going to feel that challenge actually even having to trust depression, you know, having to trust melancholy, knowing that everything is cyclic, and embracing, you know, it's the mind that decides if something is good or bad, or positive or negative. And that is the message of Jinky too. There is nothing that is good or bad really, and when we have those expectations that we were looking at a couple of weeks ago in the codon ring of life and death, and the 42nd gene key, that we expect it to be a certain way because that's the way we judge it to be better, or how it's supposed to be. We are kind of already separating ourselves from our life experience. So what the second gene key invites us to do is really to come back to our inner orientation, our inner authority, that G center that knows who we are and where we're going, and tapping into that inner GPS. And we can also say that the shadow, again, like we always see in the gene keys, that the shadow contains the gift. So when I speak from my own experience about dislocation, so dislocation has a repressive pattern and a reactive pattern. The repressive pattern is to be lost, and the reactive pattern is to be regimented. And I have tapped into both of these, and that's also kind of interesting to see in general, that even, you know, we might think that we're only reactive or only repressive, but often, especially in our life's work, there are going to be nuances, there are going to be both. So for me, I would say that the reactive regimentation has been more apparent, and that since when water flows everywhere, and it's kind of, with water, it dissolves everything, you could say. And for me, I feel like there was a fear of dissolving. There was a fear of losing control. There was even a fear of letting this water flood my feelings, and feel like if I did, I would kind of lose control somehow of everything that I wanted to do in the outer world. And this is kind of the flip thing again, what we were saying about the first gene key and the second gene key, because if the second gene key is about being, the feminine, the form, what is, and the masculine is more about doing, more so like it's eros and it's agape. And I was conditioned to think that eros was better, that doing was better, that the masculine was better. So if I would give in to the feminine and to the surrender to the water and to the flow, I felt it was scary for me. So I used the regimentation of structuring my life and having goals. And I remember being at college, my business school, the first year, I would have a crazy schedule where I was a spinning instructor. I would wake up at 4:45 in the morning. I would already have like all my training clothes for the whole week lined up. I would have things already cooked, and everything was like basically by the minute planned. I would be at school at 8:10 to start the first lecture, and then there were activities in the afternoon. I was also kind of active with stuff with the associations with students, but everything was extremely regimented, and I slept 2-3 hours a night, and it's like it was kind of, I did accomplish a lot of things, and it kind of looked cool, you know, but at the same time there was a lot of sadness in it. It was this feminine feeling that there was no place for her, in a way you could say. And then I feel like I also later on tapped in more to the thing of being lost, you know, when I started to travel a lot as a business consultant, when I woke up in a different city every day, and I would not know the first, you know, millisecond at least when I woke up, I would be like, where am I? I didn't know the time zone. I didn't know if it was an Airbnb, a hotel, you know, and that's a feeling that it's not grounding, to not know, to be lost, you know. And to have that feeling with you, and even in my dreams still today, the only thing I dream about is traveling, and I'm missing flights, and my luggage is not there, and it's raining, and like people are sleeping everywhere, and it's kind of chaotic. So that's more the inner that doesn't feel safe, because what Richard says as well in the contemplation is that fear is safe, and that's really, that's the message of the second gene key. And the message is ultimately about love, because it's embracing the fact that anything that is perfect, and loving it for what it is. And when we go back and see the shadow patterns, and what I was in, having been in both the reactive and the repressive, this is how I can see and speak about the fact that embracing the shadow leads us to the gift. Because when you've been lost and when you have been structured for so long, like there comes a time like when spirit can't cope with that anymore, and you start to orient yourself. You start to actually go in and listen to your own inner compass, because you can't take that frequency anymore. So you tap into your intuition, and then you start to orient yourself. And you start to find what works, and you start to kind of dissolve. Again, last week we were speaking about merging with the moment, when you are in a pattern, and then you pause, and then you merge with something new. And with the second gene key is similar, because we are lost, and then we kind of stop and we tune into the inner knowing. This is how Ra, in his contemplation about gene key, about gate 2, he says it's the inner knowing, and it's that compass that we can trust. And it doesn't necessarily always have the energy to go in a direction, but it knows the direction. It's that feminine intuition, that feminine knowing. And from that, we start to orient ourselves. And I feel like once we do that, the perceived separation with everything, it dissolves. So it's again this kind of watery feeling of dissolving, and we start to have those glimpses of being in flow, of being one with everything. And also the polarities between the masculine and the feminine, or between light and darkness, between entropy and beauty, whatever shadow and city that you take in the gene keys, it kind of starts to dissolve into each other, because it's just like different frequencies of the same thing. And when we look at it again from the programming partner and the codon rings, we see that what I was saying before, the ring of fire also has the 14 gene key, and together with the second, which is water, the 14 is actually the fire, the fuel in that channel that goes between the G center and the sacral center. When you connect that sacral energy, the fire from the 14 with the water and direction from the second gene key in the G center, you have the channel of the beat, and the channel of power, you could say, because you have the orientation and direction, and you also have the fire and the fuel. And together we call this channel, these two gene keys, or these two gates, we call them the keeper of the keys, because basically when you have the energy and you have the direction, there is nothing that you cannot unlock. And I'm looking more into this now. How can we activate the gates that we don't have? I'm looking a lot at charts that have splits, and how I was writing also a couple of weeks ago about what happens many times, how we try to like fix our splits or bridge our splits, attracting other people or living from our split, or and actually we can tune into the part that we don't have. And I do believe that we are going to be able to actually invite that energy in. And so this is an invitation to all of us. If we have gate 2 about that direction and that knowing who we are, but maybe we don't really know how to start to row the boat. It is to connect with our belly. It is to connect with that warmth that is in our belly, and that is our sacral energy, and that is our sensuality. Because in that there is an enormous power, an enormous energy, and we want to start to circulate that energy up to the heart. And it also has to do with this split that I've been speaking about, the 2D 4D split, or the split between, you know, the 3 first chakras and the higher chakras, that we want to make sure that we reconnect our primal nature with our heart, with love. um, and I feel like that's a good thing to start around off as well, because what Richard says in the contemplation, he says, no agenda, just love. And that is the message of the second gene key. Again, it's like, it's a really important thing to see, because as we invite love in everything we do, also there is no difference between our animalistic and our primal nature and the higher chakras. There is no duality, there is no separation. We really are, you know, we have an animal nature, and we do have a heart as a human being, and we also have, we have that part of the mind, that the visionary in us. We are the creator. So when we can embody, when this can be, when there is no separation, when there is oneness, when there is flow between these 3 energies in us, and it can circulate and actually regenerate, then there is no limit for what we can be. So I feel like this is probably enough for this gene key, and I just love to have my birthday in this gene key. I feel like it's such a beautiful story, and if there's one story, you know, that I feel like humanity and where we are like right now, where, you know, one message, what we need, for me, this is kind of the ultimate message that can shift everything. And in the divine feminine, it's not that divine feminine is supposed to be more than anything else, but inviting that and including that in where we are right now as humanity. It's what we are doing. It's what I see everywhere, and it's making me calm and happy, because I feel like I don't feel like it's going to go wrong anymore. I don't even feel like we are destroying Earth. It's like there is such an intelligence in Mother Earth, and I just need to, I feel like I am trusting that whatever is happening, whatever I see, it's not a sign of separation. It's more this orientation of finding. We are relocating, orientating, flowing to see what works. And it might look chaotic uh, and messy, and that's part of life. That's form. The feminine expresses herself like that, and that's unique, and that is the feminine. We are not going to be able to control it. It doesn't have an agenda. It is love, and it's embracing. So thank you, guys.